Hey everyone, you have an essay due this week, a week from today, on the criminal justice system. And I want to share with you a couple of things that you can do to get that stronger grade on your paper. And so I'm going to go over a couple of important things with you. So one of the things you're going to be doing is using articles from the SBVC databases. So I'm going to use that too as an example in the writing. So let me share my screen with you. And okay, so here's a paper called "The Supreme Court Should Rein in the Death Penalty." I got it from the same databases that you guys are using. So I'm just going to pretend for a minute that I'm writing my paper on this. It's written by this guy named Lawrence Tribe, and it has some interesting information in it. So I've decided that's what I'm going to use. So now I'm going to go to my blank paper and show you a couple of things that you can do from that paper. So let me share my screen with you again. So just here's a blank screen, and bring this over here. So here's a quote from the paper that I showed you, the article that I showed you. This is something that I would often see. The death penalty should be abolished. It violates human dignity. Tribe. My question for you is, well, who's Tribe, and why do I care that you're quoting him? So we'll talk about that in a minute. Another thing I will see is something like this. So then, Professor Copeland says you need to, comment on the quote or offer some discussion. So then I would see something like this: "We must put an end to this practice because it is inhumane." Basically, that's just repeating the quote using different words. That's not really offering some in-depth analysis or discussion on it. So what can you do? Well, I'm going to go back to the article for a second and show you this. So here's the article again. If you scroll down to the article, one important thing that you can see is Lawrence H. Tribe. It tells you a little bit about the author. Lawrence H. Tribe is the Carl M. Loeb University Professor and Professor of Constitutional Law at Harvard University. Cool. Now you know a little something about the guy. That's another indication that you're reading an article that is reliable. If the article tells you something about who the author is, what their credentials are, that's a good indication that the information's pretty reliable. Not always, but often, especially the articles that you're going to get from our databases, the SBVC databases. The other thing I want to point out is when you're using these databases, they all have some area somewhere that it looks a little different in different databases from the library, but they almost all have this citation link. So you click on that. MLA 9, make sure there's other, APA 7, you want to make sure you're using MLA 9, but it gives you the citation for your works cited page. All you have to do is copy this and put it on your works cited page. You may have to change the font and the size once you cut and paste it, but it's a really great tool to use. So I know a little something about my author, and I know how to cite it on the works cited page. Going to go back to this. So here's kind of a cool thing that you can do. Lawrence Tribe, Professor of Constitutional Law at Harvard, believes that the death penalty violates human dignity. A couple things about this. I've introduced the quote. I've told you a little bit about the author, given you his credentials. Okay, gosh, he's a professor at Harvard Law. This guy knows what he's talking about. And I'm also using present tense. So when you're writing and quoting material, you want to use present tense. So now I need to say something that follows it other than, oh, it's inhumane. because that's the same thing that Tribe said. So, think about, what do you want to say? Why do you really think it violates human dignity? So I'm going to add this. One of the main reasons for this violation is that innocent people have been put to death. So notice I kind of mention the word violation. I kind of link back to the quote. And then I say, in recent years, particularly with the use of DNA evidence, many people sitting on death row have been exonerated. The evolution of science and technology has allowed for much stronger evidence to be presented against defendants. In fact, Tribe points out that 160 people have been released from death row due to wrongful convictions. I have a citation there because I used a fact from the essay that I wouldn't have known without reading it. Even one innocent person being put to death should be enough reason to stop the death penalty altogether. Great. So there's several elements to this couple of sentences that are important. I've given the credentials of the author. I've introduced and tagged the quote and made it part of the sentence. And then I'm offered some meaningful analysis following the quoted material. One more thing I'm going to show you really quickly here is, yes, our databases give you that information, but a lot of articles that you will read in various places will give you information about the author. You don't usually get the citation stuff unless you're using the databases, but you can often get a little information about your author from whatever article you're reading. So here's NPR, right? There's an article on NPR. I just clicked the death penalty and this one came up. So I just clicked this one. So this one, the author is Carrie Johnson. So this one actually has a link. So I click on that and it says, oh, tells you about who Carrie Johnson is. Oh, she's the justice correspondent at NPR. She's been working for 10 years. So she sits on the advisory board for journalism ethics at the Historical Society. So she's got a lot of credentials. You could pick any one of those things out that tell you about her and say, oh, Carrie Johnson, NPR's justice correspondent, believes that, and then quote her. Or you could say something about, Johnson, who sits on the board for journalism ethics, blah, blah, blah. So kind of tell about, how she believes in honesty and ethical writing, things like that. That would be really cool too. So there's lots of things you can do with that. So those are just a couple of techniques that you can use to enhance your writing, make it stronger, and give it that level of critical analysis that we're trying to develop in this class. If you have any questions, give me a call. I'll talk to you later.